Hello and welcome to the Daily Flock. We come to you on a Wednesday afternoon. The Ravens are back in OTAs. Lamar Jackson is back in the building. We will document that and give you the important sights and sounds from Wednesday's OTA on Thursday's show. However, we're going to continue to look at the AFC North sort of on the whole, and with a little bit more of a Pittsburgh bent today. And we are going to chat with my friend Dave Dameshek. I've known Dave since we were at the NFL Network together a long time ago. Dave is a Yinzer from Pittsburgh. He's got a background in stand-up comedy. He was a successful writer on late night shows. We'll get into a little bit of that with him. And he has brought his unique brand of humor to NFL analysis and commentary and handicapping for quite some time. But the Pittsburgh blood runs deep. And Flocky told me it was okay to have a full-throated Yinzer on the show. And so if it passes Flocky's muster, it passes mine. So we will discuss the Steelers, the Ravens, and the AFC North today with Dave Dameshek. Dave, welcome to the show. I hope you're okay with the little title that Flocky and I constructed for you there. Wise ass is a term of endearment around here. So, I guess if the beak fits, wear it or something like that.
I'll take it. I'll wear it. I've been called much worse. Jason, what a pleasure to see you. What a
It's great to be
pleasure.
seen, brother. It's great to see
Yeah.
you. You're waking up early in LA just for us. We very much appreciate that. We're probably keeping you from riding some waves right now, or maybe collecting some shells on the beach, or are those some of your favorite pastimes now that you've been in LA this long?
Well, as you know, don't even mention it's taboo to even mention seashells at this point. Like don't even touch
Oh,
on that
really?
subject. Well, if you put them into certain shapes and everything, it upsets a percentage of the country and everything. So
Okay,
don't
okay. Oh,
let
oh, oh, oh,
let
right.
Let's
Gotcha.
not
Yep, yep.
even mess
My
with that.
bad.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're exactly right. That's the condition of being a football fan or a sports fan in Southern California. People who aren't in Southern California all often mention that what the condition of any of the teams out here is irrelevant because you people are just out surfing anyway. Nobody
Yeah.
cares about football out here. There's nobody like for the record though, when people say that every time, I always think like the closest I've ever been to surfing is watching Point Break on cable. Like, I mean, like
Yeah.
the idea that everybody in Southern California is consumed by surfing and
Yeah.
sunshine based activities to the point of distraction from football or otherwise is a little bit silly.
It's Utah 2-2, and anytime you come across that, it's like Slapshot or like Roadhouse, right? You're not changing the channel. Even if it's the bastardized version on TNT, you're now locked in until you fall asleep. At least I am.
Yeah,
I
you know
couldn't turn
what's
away.
funny? It's funny. I was among the people. I hate to be one of the curmudgeons of the world, but like a lot of people, it got to a point. I don't know, 5 years, 10 years or so ago, where Shawshank was always on. And
Yeah.
Shawshank is a good watch. It's one of those movies that wherever you are, when you find it, you're in till the end.
Yes.
Yeah, till they're to the reunion on the beach. Zawad Nehu. By the way, the power of that movie that we all still know Zawad
Yes.
Nehu 25 years later is said just by the fact that we can summon the name of a random town on the Mexican coast. But I got into the thing of like, man, Shawshank is good, but does it need to be on wall to wall
Mm.
24 hours a day? And I belly ached about that. And apparently somebody finally heard because I
Yeah.
don't know if you've noticed, Shawshank's not on
It
cable
got
anymore, and
down.
I miss
Yeah.
it. But what is still is Hunt for Red October. And in fact, I think Hunt for Red October has now outstripped number of views for me
Wow.
Shawshank. I think so. I mean, it's
Wow.
always on, and it's not
Yeah.
like I'm at this point, I'm not like, yeah, Red October's on, but like I do, like I'll see it, and then 37 minutes later, oh, Baldwin is down in the heater hunting for the guy, the killer on the Red October, shooting it out with that guy, dripping sweat and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. I think bottom line, Red October is now the number one most viewed movie, maybe of my lifetime.
Well, we are going to get to football here, and you've got the Football America pod on
Mm.
Meadowlark, and I know you've got IT guys out there making gussying up your studio and all that stuff going on. But before we get to Steelers Ravens rivalry and the weird moment of time that we're in this division, with Zach Taylor being the dean of all head coaches.
Ha.
Tell people about your journey from Pittsburgh to the left coast.
Basically, it all boils down to 1993. The Pittsburgh Penguins are the two-time Stanley Cup champions. The best edition of that generation of Penguins teams was in 1993. They were on an all-time heater. They just had to dispose of the overmatched New York Islanders, and then they were going to go into a month-long stretch of Mario Lemieux, the world's greatest, the all-time greatest hockey player, going back the prodigal son to Montreal to put on a show against the Bleu Blanc et Rouge. He would vanquish them, then move on to play for the Stanley Cup against Wayne Gretzky's Kings. Instead, David Volek in Game 7 for the New York Islanders in overtime improbably scored a goal. The Tom Barrasso, probably a shot he'd like to have back. He probably should have stopped it, but either way.
Dave, if it came off a Washington Capital stick, Tom Barrasso would have stopped it, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah. I when people try to engage me and like, isn't it the best rivalry, the Capitals and Penguins? I'm old enough to say, for my Patrick Division hatred rankings, the Caps never really did much to hurt my feelings way back when. Yeah, right. Islanders, I hate. Flyers, I hate. Even Devils, I hate way more than I hate the Capitals, although the last 20 years have kind of changed that a little bit. But either way, David Volek scores that goal, eliminates the Penguins. I was debating between signing a lease with my pals in Pittsburgh and signing a lease in Chicago with another pal of mine. And when Volek scored that goal to vanquish the Penguins, I decided, you know what? This is a message from the sports gods. Ditch. So I moved to Chicago, and the rest is history. I met somebody who, she said, why don't you move out to LA and try comedy writing? And I was like, because I have no degree in comedy writing. And she said, great news. Nobody has such a degree, and you should go out there and give it a shot. And so I went out there and gave it a shot, and here we sit. Long story short, if I could go back in time and have Tom Barrasso stop that David Volek shot and then have Mario Lemieux score at the other end and go on to win the Stanley Cup, that would have been my preference. But as it happens, this is where life took me. I got to Los Angeles. Sequence of flukes happened. Got writing with the Man Show and Crank Yankers and the Kimmel Show, and then got on the radio, and the rest is history.
Crank Yankers. We could do a whole podcast on that sometime. Like I have slowly introduced that to some of the younger producers and even my kids. What up? C'est magnifique.
It's great, but as they say, they did bring it back a couple of years ago. But for the most part, the technology kind of gets in the way of it. It's outmoded now. We used to go to, because you couldn't record, I'm sure this is still the law. You couldn't record people surreptitiously in California. So you had to go to some states where it was legal. Nevada was one of them. And so Kimmel somehow convinced the Comedy Central executives, like, well, if we're going to cross state lines, you may as well put us up in Vegas. And somehow that turned into the Four Seasons in Vegas. Yeah. So it was the best. You sat at nighttime in the Four Seasons, living the life of luxury. And then in the daytime, it was the most fun writing job, because you would sit in a sound booth with, the world's best comedians. Yeah. And you'd have stupid ideas for why you would prank call people. And then you would sit there with a whiteboard, you and another writer or two, and you're looking at these and then turning around to show Tracy Morgan,
giving them notes.
You're giving them notes, because you're listening to the call while they're listening to it. Man above. You're trying to show them, like, say this, and it was really telling, because some world-class comedians would literally shut their eyes and they didn't want to hear you or involve you, and other people are just completely dependent on it. We're like, what do you, I have nothing. I don't have anything to say. And it was really, separated the wheat from the chaff, as they say.
Oh, special ed. I mean, those guys, I quote them all the time. Anyhow. All right. We got to talk some football here. Let's just start with your state of your Steelers here. McCarthy's a yinzer. I'm not going to sit here and say I think he's the most innovative offensive mind in the world or anything like that, but he speaks the local language, and, his dad had a bar and all that. So I guess that buys him cachet. Aaron Rodgers stunk last year against anybody he faced other than Zach Orr's defenses. that was enough to get him in the playoffs. Are you buying what the Steelers are selling?
Well, you're dismissive, at least for some people, for the quality of Aaron Rodgers' play. A lot of people will point to his touchdown interception split. That doesn't tell much of the story, but a lot of people will look at that and give themselves comfort with those numbers, of course, as you sort of indicate, Zach, or specifically. But I think the 30,000-foot view with Aaron Rodgers' performances is that anybody with a pass rush. I think it's pretty much as simple
Yes.
as that. If you heat him up, he shrinks because he's in his 40s and presumably therefore understands his mortality better than he did 20 years ago. Whatever the reason is, he doesn't want to get smacked, which I completely get on the human level, but it ain't optimal
No.
in pro football to have your quarterback prioritizing not taking a shot, not holding onto the ball for an extra half second. And the thing with him is too, that a lot of people like to point to is, I'm open to the notion of, in the 21st century, in an age of LeBron being relevant as deep into his career as he is, and the number of Tom Brady obviously winning a Super Bowl in his 40s, that the paradox is that Tom Brady never depended on high-end athleticism to get it done, and it's the Frank Gore paradox too, which is, Maurice Jones-Drew like to point this one out to me when I used to sort of be fascinated, like a lot of people. How's Frank Gore doing this? I mean, he was very good, but it seems as though he's better. It's, in fact, he maintained his level of play deep into his career. How did he do that when better athletes couldn't do it? Because better athletes lost their high gear, and once they lost their highest gear, once they lose that, they come back to earth a little bit. When you never depended on that in the first place, it's a different, neck up Tom Brady kind of stuff. He wasn't diminished at all. Aaron Rodgers, that is the issue with him. His ability on those gentle rolls at his very best to put pressure on defenses with his legs and making plays outside the pocket or on the edge, it's just evaporated now. And people don't see, including, I think, Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he completely gets that. He's a little bit like a prize fighter who thinks he has a little bit more than he probably does.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to project to that point upside, or like the idea that McCarthy's going to do something different with a 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Like, I'm not a big Arthur Smith guy, but like, it feels to me like the goal there is to tread water offensively and then be a much more consistent defense. No, I mean, is that not in essence what they're selling, sort of quietly selling to their fan base? Like, we'll maintain there, and we're going to turn people over more, and Watt will turn back the hands of time a couple years, and we'll be able to win games 21-20.
Remember Paul Abdul at the height of American Idol,
Very much so.
20 years or so ago. And the big debate was like, it was the biggest problem in our society is like, what's going on with Paul Abdul? Like, sometimes she seems a little wacky.
Yeah.
And people say, I think she's on something. People say she's on something, right? She's on something. And then that became a great offense to her. Like, how dare you say I'm on drugs? This is me, all natural. Like, oh, that's all natural. You sure you want to go with that? Maybe blame it on something else.
Right.
That's sort of the Steelers to me. What they're trying to sell to the fans, as you say, like that's the panacea to, like, let's get through this year and then new era, Aaron Rodgers will leave. I think they buy it. That's the more troubling thing. I think Omar Khan, I think Mike McCarthy to a degree is convinced that there's Aaron Rodgers, given the current alternatives, and this is another thing that they've sort of sold to the world and to themselves. It's like, what else were we supposed to do? As though there weren't other options over the last 3 or 4 months, or in fact, go back, last February, and really you could go back 3 Februarys ago to the Russell Wilson nonsense, but just focusing on Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Jackson Dart suddenly is more fraught when you mention that name over the last week, but Jackson Dart was there, and Tyler Shuck was there, and Malik Willis was there. A couple of, I mean, he was, but that was $45 million. Yeah. Okay. That's what a transitional QB costs. And that is
Rodgers is
not a massive hit on what you're trying to do over the next couple of years. Malik Willis is exactly right. He would transition you into through this year and be a viable starter in all likelihood. And the it's a little bit of I'm sorry, I don't mean to be doing political stuff, but these are the references that are
yeah.
available to me right now. But like it's the Spencer Pratt thing that's going on in
Yeah.
LA right now.
Yeah.
It's the like, yeah, but things are screwed up. Like
Yeah.
we need to do something else. It's like, yeah, but that ain't the answer. What do you think? That's the answer? Like,
Right.
yeah, but there's no one else out there. Aaron Rodgers is the best available thing. Okay, do you think Aaron Rodgers can take this team to the Super Bowl? Because if you do, you're wrong.
Yeah.
But the irony is that the roster may well be, and it's like this. I think that that Khan and Tomlin, who obviously was making that roster until the day he left, but
Yeah.
Khan was the executioner of Tomlin's will, and there's some guys from the Colbert era and all the rest of it. I think they cobbled together a pretty good roster. And in fact, I would say it's the best roster in the AFC North right now if you remove the quarterback, if you take that out.
Quite a
So,
caveat there, my friend.
well, the major caveat,
Yes.
in the same way you say like, hey, they're to be, Andy Weidl's done a great job. He's the guy from Pittsburgh who went to Philadelphia for about a decade. He's the assistant GM, but he built up the line of scrimmage in Philly, and they're still benefiting from that work. But then he came back to Pittsburgh, I think 3 years ago now, maybe 4. It's murky, but either way, that's what he was told to focus on. That's what he's done. And they drafted Broderick Jones at left tackle a couple of years ago, has the neck injury. He hasn't panned out, in part because of the neck injury. But beyond that, that's the only miss from Andy Weidl. So he's done his job.
Yeah.
But as you say, you have to asterisk all of this because they didn't solve the only position that really matters. And it's sort of like giving credit to Dennis Rodman, like he's the greatest defender and rebounder you'll ever see. It's like, well, yeah, if you liberate him from having to focus on the other important stuff, I guess it's easier to specialize and be a star in that. Yeah. It's the same sort of thing. So I give them credit for having gotten the roster to this place. The problem is that they didn't focus on, they've treated the quarterback position for now, including the Russell Wilson year, really like you can solve in a quarterback league the position that matters by going to TJ Maxx and finding a brand name at a cut rate price and getting that, being like, see, look, aren't we smart? Look at what we did. Look at what we're paying Russell Wilson. It's like we're paying him pennies. Like, why is that? Why do you think Russell Wilson was so easy to get for you? Why do you think Aaron Rodgers was so easy to get? Oh, run it back again with Aaron Rodgers. Other teams aren't falling all over themselves to get him. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is, Omar Khan?
Yeah. So Mike T was famous for saying the standard is the standard. Are you buying that the standard is still the standard, or is the standard something different than Mike Tomlin's standard?
People love to debate that their priority is. I think people in Pittsburgh are aware that, the Steelers, largely because of Mike Tomlin, haven't had a losing season in, 20 years or whatever it is. I think that's more the result of their approach than it is some sort of focus to like, let's get to 9. Let's get with 9.
Get in a dance.
9 is the North Star for us. Like that's like, I don't think that's it. I think it's the result of their approach, which is that they and which I advocate for in all sports, save one major exception. Tanking is, but in the NFL, especially the year-to-year league, the wild swings in results for teams. Of course, you should approach it year to year. The idea that you should take a year off and you should tank, given also the teams that tank should leave you uninspired too. The results of the teams that did purposely take a year off, look at how it worked out for them or didn't. And there's really no sense in doing that. So I like the Steelers' attempt to fuel the plane at 30,000 feet at all times. It's just the decisions specifically that they made it at QB that have damned them, in my opinion. And I do think also Tomlin, for all of his virtues, specifically greatest floor raiser of the century, I also think he just got outvoted. I just straight up, and I've been saying that, and I was one of his greatest supporters up until a point when it sort of hit the wall for me, where he thinks he can just sort of ignore the standard requirements to success, and he duped himself to some degree. I think that it's like we're in the mix every year, and I, from an entertainment standpoint, you get me to the last week of every regular season in the mix, it's pretty satisfying. And there's some special sort of movie style. We need this to happen over there in Jacksonville. And if that happens, then if we just win, but then at night they don't go to overtime, they don't tie.
And then it happens.
Then they get it, and it's very
and
exciting in the moment.
Right.
It's great. Super exciting. It just is like a Gilligan's Island episode where it all just reboots the next week. You're like totally into it. They didn't get off the island, but wait till next week. Let's see. And then you get them. It's like, come on. You think we're beating the Chiefs? You think we're winning in Buffalo in January? Come on, guys. What are we doing? We're just spinning our wheels here. We're just spinning our wheels. We're not actually contenders for the Super Bowl. And then that brings us back to where we started 20 minutes ago before I started monologuing, which is, if Aaron Rodgers, if you don't think Aaron Rodgers can get you to the Super Bowl, and if you are rational, you understand he cannot get you to the Super Bowl, then this is just a waste of time. In fact, it's worse than a waste of time. What you're doing is getting in the way of any potential progress. I don't think they have the answer in Drew Aller or Will Howard. Both are crapshoots given where they slotted in the draft. They're both long shots, but any chance of their success is diminished by Aaron Rodgers' presence because he's going to be playing and it's going to take snaps from both of them in practice and in games. So why are we wasting time like this? It'd be one thing if you thought maybe if things align right, but back to where we were. Aaron Rodgers is not Tom Brady. They're both weirdos, but they're two very different kinds of weirdos. One is singularly focused on the task at hand. The other one is doing peacekeeping missions.
He's kung fu. He's walking the earth like kung fu. He's in the ring.
You think that guy's doing it?
Barefoot, naked, whatever. Naked and afraid. I do want to branch out to the rest of the division, but because you kind of talking about the 9 million scenarios that the Steelers need to hit, and then they hit. Where are you when Tyler Loop is coming out to attempt that field goal, which is going to turn out to be the end of the Ravens season, the end of the John Harbaugh era? What's going through your mind as he lines up to take a 44-yard kick?
I had a weird sense that he was about to miss that one because of that, the football gods frown on that thing of taking your foot off the gas.
Yes.
Marv Levy, the genius and all of that, he did the same way back in Super Bowl 25 against the Giants and paid the price for that, or Scott Norwood's reputation paid the price for it. And I think that's what happened there. Somehow you gotta try to make a play. It was very strange that they determined like close enough.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, right. Stop.
But for the most part, it was what I was feeling in the moment was, this is the whole thing is built around Mike Tomlin's idea of like, get me to the fourth quarter in a close game. And if you give me the lead, that's when we tune it up. That's when we unleash the hounds and TJ Watt and company get after. And it was like, they just kept scoring. Lamar just kept deep shot into Zay Flowers. Like, oh yeah, you can't do it. It was like, this is over with. Yeah. And they won. And it was funny because you love to win the head to head. And, the Steelers ongoing borderline ownership of Lamar Jackson's Ravens and all of that is fun. But also as it happens, you're like, well, you think they're going to be able to stop that pass rush from Houston when it gets to town? Obviously not.
No. Okay, so let's talk some Ravens. You've got the Chargers, the Superchargers playing out there. Jesse Minter comes in with Harbaugh. They bring this thing from Ann Arbor. Boy, they turn that defense around right away. Derwin James, no, you're not a free safety. You're going to be a hybrid box defender. We're gonna manufacture pass rush. Bosa's at the end. Who cares? Works pretty well. Last year, Aaron Rodgers threw for 290 yards a game against the Baltimore Ravens. He threw for 186 a game against everybody else. He got sacked 2% of his dropbacks against Zach Orr's defense. He got sacked 7% of his dropbacks against everybody else. Are you concerned that Jesse Minter is not going to be the speed bump that Zach Orr was from a deep? We're just talking Jesse Minter as not the head coach, but the remaker of a Ravens defense that hopefully looks like a Ravens defense.
Well, I mean, for the last couple of years, a few years, I've been pointing at it, and I'm on the public record with this. It's not retroactive that I'm saying this, but there is a certain, the side by side rivalry of the 21st century Steelers and Ravens, and part of the reason it's so compelling is because of I mean, Lamar Jackson versus Ben Roethlisberger kind of blows up that. So it's like looking in a mirror kind of
Yeah, yeah,
effect.
yeah,
But
yeah.
for the most part, I think people understand that that's kind of true, that they largely approach things similarly. And so you compare it that way. And it's funny because 3 years ago, the Steelers had kind of um, taking their eye off the ball at the line of scrimmage, and you could see that happening with Baltimore, that they were
Yes.
trying to solve the receiver position
Yes.
and otherwise, and somehow the line of scrimmage was slowly
Eroding.
deteriorating, and you could see that. And I said, when it happened, I said, the people that may not be aware of the Namdi injury and
Oh,
how significant that's going to be. But the Jenga theory is like the game of Jenga
yes.
in 21st century football. If you take the wrong piece out of Jenga, the whole thing's going to implode. And I declared in that moment, I think
Correct.
that Ravens team is in some
Cooked.
real trouble now.
Yeah.
If Matabike can't come back, and obviously he couldn't, and I don't know what his state is going forward.
I'm not sure they totally do either, but
Yeah, it's what
they're
it
giving it a
sounds like.
go. But I mean, he had neck surgery a month ago, so we'll.
But and then is Ronnie Stanley ever going to be right again? And the answer is, wow, so he finally did get back to form after several years away. But I'm not convinced that the line is that the offensive line is all the way
Mm-mm.
fixed up, and that's not a small matter for the
No.
Baltimore Ravens. And also the lack of pass rush was looming and was going to get him at some point. And maybe they've solved that. Maybe that's where they're better. But shame the devil if Kyle Hamilton hadn't fallen into their lap, because they'd really be in a tough spot. But as it is, yes, to answer your question after vamping around there, yeah, I
No,
think
no.
that Jesse Minter does fix them. I do think that there's a funny trend for our consumption of quarterback league, and there's
Uh-huh.
there half dozen guys. We try to talk maybe 15 guys into being the franchise QB who can cover
Right.
all warts, but really
Right.
there are 4 to 6 of those cats
Yep.
running around the NFL right now. And we got to get one of those or you're nowhere. And still those guys get you into the mix. But over the last couple of few years, here comes the rise of defense once again,
Yes.
and brawny defense at that.
Yes.
And so now I think we're at a fascinating time. After the Mike McDonald thing a year ago, does Jesse Minter in the copycat league, does he continue the emergence of defense, or do we get a return to the high end quarterback? Especially that narrative kind of caught about halfway
Yeah.
through the season and played out. That's like, is the AFC not going to have Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar? Are they all going to miss the playoffs?
Yeah.
And is that like it that kind of did catch? And it if I had to say now, I mean, I kind of I buy the Broncos right now, and it ain't because of Bo Nix.
Right.
If Jesse Minter can get them right on defense, I do wonder though, and you're all about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
I talk about a lot the cross sport analogy I make is that Lamar and Josh Allen at roundabout 30 might need to make that massive
Oh yeah.
career alteration
Yeah.
that Michael Jordan was. It's funny, by the way, just as a random
Yeah.
aside, sorry for blathering so much, but
No. I love it.
I'm a dork, you see.
Me too.
An OG, I mean a real one, not
Yeah.
one playing it.
I'm
I
right
like
there
to
with you
sit
on it.
around. I like to go on YouTube and watch old games.
Yep.
And I hadn't watched the 63-point game in Boston Garden
Mm.
in decades. I don't know when the last time you put that one on. Jordan's,
It's been a minute.
when he, with the Wemby game against
Yes.
OKC last week and all of that. It's like, man, nothing will ever be the same again. We were just talking about that on Football America, those moments that you've experienced as if you were like, the hell are we looking at? It's like Colin
Right.
Kaepernick in the stick against the Packers in that divisional round game. You're
How
like,
about
what
that?
the hell is happening? What the
Yeah.
whoa. Like that was Wemby watching that game.
Yes.
And Jordan 63 against the Celts. And you forget what it was like probably. Because you've talked Michael
Yeah.
Jordan for 30 years or 40 years now. You've kind of the visceral, like he would jump up in the air, like hanging in the air, and he would drop the ball down to his hip and then get it back up, triple clutching in the air. It was insane, like nothing you'd ever seen before. But got to about 29 or 30, and that was gone. He just wasn't a rim
Not the same
attacker who
above the
could
rim.
devastate. And the thing that is crazy about his career, Tom Brady just kind of rode he just rode the steady glide for 20 years. Michael Jordan, mid-career, just all of a sudden was like, I'm a mid-range jump shooter, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then Kobe Bryant did the exact same thing. His career arc is the exact same. And so the question is, we've already seen some indicators that the coaches, at least, and maybe the players, like, maybe I shouldn't be running with the ball all the time and be taking shots or exposing myself to that. And then but then it begs, like, what does that do? So if Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen aren't playing the way that makes them who they are, makes them, two of the great talents we've ever seen in the history of people. If they aren't that, then does that diminish the high end potential, or can they flip a switch in January? So far, we haven't seen the ability to do that. If you play a more restrained version for the majority of the season, that suddenly you're like, now I'm going to be dynamic and I'm going to run with the ball 18 times this on January 14th.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't work that way.
Well, and look, Vegas isn't the end all and be all, but if you go under the hood of what their algorithms are saying about the Ravens, they've got them at 11.5 wins as much as anybody. But then you start looking at player props. Lamar Jackson's passing total, there's 23 people on the board right now. His passing total is 18th. Like, they've got Derrick Henry going from 1,600 yards to 1,250. Like, they've got Zay Flowers under 1,000 yards. They've got Mark Andrews at 425 receiving yards. They seem to be buying Jesse Minter. You know what I mean? But yet they've got great Super Bowl odds, and they've got great division odds, and they've got great win total odds. Like, even they seem to, I think, be saying that defense has got to be better. It will be exponentially better. But Declan Doyle, right, with Lamar going into age 30, having never called a play before, Doyle, like, who are the path? Like, who are you really worried about outside of Zay Flowers week one? I feel like that's sort of parallel to what you're saying.
Listen, and this is just, bald sort of cynicism out of me, but, it's also looking at reality. The Derrick Henry thing can't go on forever. I mean,
age 32 is when it falls off a cliff for everybody. For everybody. There's been like 4 age 32 running backs that go for 1,000 yards. No one's ever gone for 1,350. 2 have averaged 4.5 a carry or better in their age 32 season. Dave, this is going back to the merger. You had Sweetness at 4.5, and then you had Ricky Williams at 4.7 a carry. But we know Ricky Williams wasn't really 32. He was like 28 because he spent 3 years in the abyss, right? And then the year in the CFL. He's got 1,000 fewer carries than Derrick Henry his age 32 season. So
look at that holistic medicine for a win with Ricky. Yeah, that's right. No, you're exactly right. Jerome Bettis is the anomaly with the big back kind of thing specifically. I'm not just talking about running backs, but the nature of Derrick Henry. The almost across the board is this true, and it's sort of something I've been pointing out with Wemby, and it's the concern for, if you're tired, everybody, of the Michael Jordan versus LeBron debate, settle in. Because unless Wemby gets hurt, you got 15 years of Michael or LeBron, or is it Wemby? Yeah, it's going to be a new layer to the conversation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're doing that, but for the most part, the big dude, and Wemby is obviously he's 7'8" and 83 pounds, so he's not exactly this. But from Mark Bavaro, the Giants tight end from way back, was great, was the best tight end in the game at the time, or, short list of best tight ends. Wore out real quick. Mario Lemieux, my guy, biggest guy on the ice, Eric Lindros, Shaquille O'Neal, and so on. And the paradox with those guys is that when you are the common feature in these massive collisions, you're the one who wears out more quickly. If you're the big dude, it takes, when you have massive dudes taking shots at you to get you to the ground or to slow you down all the time, and you're the one always taking those shots, whether it seems counterintuitive or not, you're the one who wears out more quickly. So big backs, Jerome Bettis is the only big back I can think of who had a career beyond 6 or 8 years. Like Earl Campbell is sort of the tragic hero that I look at with the big back story. It's like, like just, he's done. He's got nothing left at 27. Derrick Henry is funny that he has made it this long.
Unbelievable.
And in fact, I'm because I'm vain, I have to tell you this story. I was talking to Derrick Henry once, and I asked him if in high school he had ever gotten tackled. You've seen the famous video, famous video of him in high school trucking guys. And I said, "You ever get tackled?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, in a game, did you ever get taken to the ground in high school?" And he said, "Yeah, of course." And I said, "Well, then you underachieved, man. How did 15-year-old equivalent of Dave get you to the ground? You should be ashamed of yourself." Yeah. But that's been his story for now 20 years. Like, I mean, like, how is he, and maybe we have to change, or we should change again back to, we now live in a world in which I guess you can be real old and still be relevant. And that just wasn't true. So maybe I have to change my thinking. Like, he's a little long in the tooth, but LeBron's 40. Sidney Crosby is 38, 39. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in his 40s and all that. So maybe things are different. All that being said, it ain't going on that much longer for Derrick Henry. And so what is the centerpiece of the Ravens offense right now? Lamar Jackson, but not really Lamar Jackson, the MVP level, when he makes the big splash, when he makes the scene in 2019. I don't think you want that if you're the Ravens. I don't think you want that to be.
It's not Greg Roman's
Lamar.
Offense. No, it's not. It's not that.
And then you have an old man at running back, like in Zay Flowers, who's got a bad case of dropping the ball in big spots. I completely get it. Jesse Minter has to rise up. It does make me think, for all the cynicism that I started with about the Steelers, I like the Bengals. I think they're a sneaky option this year.
That's where I was going to close. I think the Bengals are the best team in the division.
Maybe. Mean, as we've seen, it's not like they need top 10 defense to be in the mix. They need a defense with a pulse. Yeah. And the thing that is weird, but it seems to have come and gone, but that was a weird stretch the last, whatever it was, month or so for Joe Burrow, when he just seemed like, where he just seemed existentially bummed out.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't feeling Mike Brown. He was not feeling ownership for a while there, but I think he's feeling it now. I think Sexy Dexy turned a lot of things around. Wait a minute. The 10th overall pick, which is money in the bank, like if that guy's any good, Mike Brown gets to derive extreme value. And instead he said, "No, I'm going to take the 29-year-old making top money at a D tackle." I think Joe Burrow is going to be an assassin this year. And Joe Burrow, since he came into the league in the months of November, December, and January in the regular season, highest rated passer in the NFL. Like, he's always been a closer. If they just don't crap the bed in September and early October and don't have to dig out of a hole. And I like the way, for their perspective, the two Ravens games set up pretty well for them. Like, I leaned to that.
I think so too. And I think a lot of people love to do this thing, this bait and switch of the quarterbacks, biggest stars in sports and all that. They may not be paid that way, but they're the biggest star in this sport at minimum, and it's our most popular sport. And so the pressure involved in all of that and being the face of a franchise and everything else, they don't want that heat put on them, but they do like to control their narrative. They like to control their legacy. And the best thing that ever happened to Tom Brady was winning that Super Bowl before he even knew what was going on. Like, he threw for 27 yards against the Rams, and he gets to hold up the Lombardi at the end of the game. And all of that. And now he never has to wear, like, can you get it done?
You do it?
Yeah. Because as I say, the curse is supposed to. It's the most like people used to do the Madden cover thing or Sports Illustrated cover. The most powerful curse in the 21st century is the curse of supposed to. When you're supposed to do it, that's an extra layer of weight on your shoulders. And, I think Lamar and Josh Allen, you feel it at the end of the season, that the weight on Josh Allen, and in the post game right after. Joe Burrow really doesn't wear that on the same level. He's kind of under the radar at this point. It's weird because Joe Burrow is the Mahomes killer. It's not Lamar, not Josh Allen, not Justin Herbert. Joe Burrow effectively beat Mahomes twice. If it's not for the shove out of bounds in Arrowhead, the Cincinnati Bengals
Would
go
be 2-0 in
into
elimination
KC.
games.
They go into Arrowhead in the title game twice and go to the Super Bowl, if not for one shove out of bounds, which remains dicey in my opinion. But either way, Joe Burrow's the guy. And I think he's hiding there in plain sight. And the thing that has derailed him even more than bad defenses is the injuries. But if he can solve that, if he can stay on the field, he needed to have. And as recently as 2-3 months ago, I was having that conversation with people about, like, did Joe Burrow get in his own way by saying to Mike Brown and everyone there, like, I need both. I don't need just Chase. I need Chase and T. Hig. I need them both. And then they gave it to him. It's like, well, now you don't get a defense. But now he has those guys, and now the defense is rounded into shape. Man, I'm with you. I think they're under the radar, and I would not be stunned if they steal the division.
10-1, Joe Burrow MVP tickets. I'm just saying. Dave, please tell the people where they can find more of this portal into your football mind, your comedic mind, everything else. Football America at Meadowlark Media.
Football America, exclamation point at the end of it, because that's how much we enjoy the game of football.
Punctuation matters.
Join us, my fellow football Americans. We talk about the State of the Union each and every week. We also tackle the game of life. Be a part of it. Subscribe, all the rest of it. Jason Luckenfora, you're the tops. I appreciate you having me on.
You are the best. Thank you for joining Flocky and I.
Good luck to the O's, man. Got to keep up with the Buccos, you know. I don't know if the Buccos are doing all right, at least.
Oh no, the Buccos have passed this rebuild by. But we'll see. We'll see. Hey, and Shane Boz, we trust. He was once one of your.
All right, give me the insight. Give me the insight. Is it over for Ovi? Malkin's coming back.
I have no idea. I have no idea. All I know is they were trying to give him the serenade, and he waved everybody off. Right? They're like, nah, you don't want to do that now. So my guess is they'll milk it next year. You know, he and Ted will milk it, I guess. But I don't really pay attention to those guys. I got to be honest with you.
Ugh, he's fatter than Grimace.
Yeah, I'm not. I got no love for Ovi. Okay, let's just end it there. Flocky says call. We will be back on Thursday on the Daily Flock to break down what we saw and heard at Ravens OTAs. And Lamar's back, at least for now. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday.